Take you back a little bit
Yes.
to the issue of the kola nut.
Yes.
You said in the laboratory, it was
yes.
able to contain
This is a replication.
the replication.
Yeah, so it will not multiply. It
So it
will
won't multiply.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
did you think about, I mean, now that we're even looking at, okay, this has come to Nigeria,
Yes.
and your committee has been set up to like do a research around it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Are you considering going back to that point where it was able to contain the replication and see if there are other properties that can be brought out from that?
Oh yeah. And well, as I said, science is like a tennis. I didn't say we stop. I didn't say that others stop. We have more data from other laboratories than kola nut. We also know that the compound store what we call kinase, a particular enzyme that messes up a lot of body systems. We also know that it does block a lot of multiple channeling in some of our enzymes. We know much more than 1999, but not necessarily by my group. But we are now more or less collating the work from others, and people have been generous. We have talked to our colleagues in America. We are on constant communication. Those who tested it at that time are now prepared to help us test the dosage form. Why this is important? You can have a compound that is active, and when you put it into tablet or a dosage form, it will lose its activity. So we have to monitor it all through the process. What is even worse with Ebola? Drug development has what we call phase 3. That's that ultimately to have approved it. It is not possible to have a phase 3, a scientifically valid phase 3 trial for Ebola, because you don't have enough patients at any given time. We pray not to have enough patients to do the phase 3.
But now Africa has to.
No, we don't even, because
we still don't have.
No, phase 3, you have to plan it. You have to recruit the patient. You have to make sure that all the parameters you use. What happened, even the 2 people that tested Americans had, we call it anecdotal, because it just happened that they were treated. You are not sure what really killed them.
So even the drugs that they use is not...
it's not, you cannot now say because Americans use those 2, why don't you, as people were asking the government, why can't America give us, they will be very stupid to give us such a product.
But they gave Liberia and some other countries.
Yeah, if so people want to, because the WHO has now more or less opened it up. But imagine if at that time they have brought this drug in Nigeria and those people died. There could have been international outcry that you used untested drugs on our people. And that is why we have to listen to the minister. The Minister of Health is like our group personal doctor. Whatever he says we should do, we do. What he says we don't do, we don't do. For me, it gives me some confidence that that's what he asks us to do. And that's also another thing we did in my group, because we have also the profit-making arm of our company. One of the things we also did was quickly bring out, instead of the sanitizers that people are buying at very, very, very enormous cost, we now brought out a cheaper version of a product we already have on the market, which we call NCP. NCP is Nimet chlorophenol, but which is actually a trichlorophenol. Instead of having it, wherever I go, I have it so that after shaking your hands, I will go and have a one. So the issue there that we now have an NCP that will reduce in price from what people are paying to just only 100 naira, so that even the rich and the poor will also have the same service. And then we keep telling, we also issued leaflets, thousands and thousands of leaflets from Nimet, telling people about washing of hands. Our business development person said, well, how can you do this? You are not government. Say, yes, we are not government. We are not just a business. We are a professional practice. And that is what we are doing.
But, sorry, how far away
Yes.
or close are we to discovering a cure for EVD?
I think what happened, we're also learning a lot from what happened in Kikwit. Kikwit is that province in Congo. Not all Ebola patients die. It's about 60 to 90% death rate, but a few people survive it. And that gives a clue as to what did they do.
Doesn't that depend on how their cases are handled?
Both how their cases are handled and the patient's own immune status. If the patient is strong, I keep giving, for viral infection generally, there are 2 things that people do. I keep giving the analogy with going to, if an armed robber unfortunately comes to a house, and there are 2 things. Either you now want to match gun for gun with the armed robber, call police or something, or you can fortify your home and the personal defense system. So both will work in tandem. And I think that's what the Nigerian government is doing. And with time, I think we'll be able to have an agreed protocol that will be able to do this. We are not helpless, or as helpless as people are making it look like. Let all these foreigners come and help us. Please come and help us before we die. We have very able scientists looking up in the future. We have able doctors who are treating our patients. We have a system that seems to be working. The containment is really fantastic. The WHO praised us. Some United Nations agencies praised us. The fact that Nigeria is doing what it's doing. The TRG, we are working, but not working openly because we are an advisory body to the minister. All our recommendations goes to the minister. He's the doctor. He will now know which ones he considers good enough to be used for the treatment of Nigeria and which ones he will not use. So we are not physicians. There are 2 persons in the committee who are physicians, but so they have to make so that kind of determination. It is his call.
The news that 4 more victims have been discharged.
Yes.
I mean, it's something a lot of people, indeed, the whole country is rejoicing over.
Yes.
Can you give us an insight into exactly how they were managed? Is it possible?
No, it's not possible. First of all, I don't know how they are managed. I'm not a doctor. Okay. I'm only an advisor to a doctor. Okay. He is the one that will be in a position to. But what happened that is 4 being discharged, if they are within that 12 cases, it's still within a statistically allowable time. Space. So if we now have many more out of those, then we will now be that we are doing something totally different. As I said, it doesn't kill all of this. And happening in Lagos is unusual. The Ebola cases I've read so far have been in rural areas where there have been unfortunate interaction between man and animal. But in Lagos, because of the accident that happened, this is not a kind of play. And it could have been horrible for it to happen in such a populated city. But both Lagos State government, the hospital, particularly that hospital, and then the federal government, the proactivity in having this concentric circle strategy where if you are at the epicenter, they quarantine you, then they look at those who you have had contact with, they look at those who have had contact with those who have had contact with you, and by the time they have this loop of concentric circle approach, everything looks solid. And the whole issue the panic that happened in Nigeria was not unusual. It also happened elsewhere. When you read the literature, then it makes sense. You may say that, frankly, what we are doing is the fact that I made the issue about that for us in the sciences, what is most uppermost in the whole thing is that you check with evidence. I tell the scientists that work with me, I said, let us weigh the fish. That's a saying we have in my lab. The let us weigh the fish means that if somebody tells you, no matter how incredible the story is, don't dismiss it. You go and check it out. The let us weigh the fish is a saying from an European noble who told scientists, a philosopher who were having a meeting, said, why is it that dead fish weigh more than living ones? And everybody said, why? What's that? I would never thought about that. But nobody bothered to go and weigh the fish to know whether dead fish actually weighs more than living ones. But they were so scared about that's the issue about beta cola and Ebola and antiviral properties. It is a known antiviral agent in vitro in the test tube. It is a known immune booster. It has been used by man over centuries. So it is ethnomedicine, that is, it was started from ethnic use and then vied into experimental medicine. So until you disprove that it is not active, you should just keep your mouth shut.
Well,